Hello and welcome back to the channel. So I've been meaning to do this video for quite a while. Basically, I would like to take you on a journey to set up Kubernetes K3s on some NUCs. So I've purchased these off eBay. I purchased a batch of 10 of these little bad boys here. So we're gonna make use of them. We're going to install the Rancher because it's something easier to help you delve into Kubernetes, and we're going to set up a small cluster in this particular episode, and in the next episodes we will be deploying some other crazy things, so stay tuned for that as well. So as you can see from the screen, the green Hulk, I don't know why it's showing up as green in my capture card. If anyone understands how to change this, please comment down below. But anyways, you get the gist of it. Here we have total memory of 16 gigs, so each and every NUC will have 16 gigs, and it is an i3 CPU. Right, so let's go to advanced. The first thing I'm going to go to is power, and I'm going to change after power failure. I'm going to always change it to power on here. So obviously in case of power failure, it turns itself back online. Let's have a look at the security tab, the performance tab, we can see it here as well. Now for cooling, I will change the fan control mode from balanced to quiet. This is going to be running in my bedroom, so I really don't want to hear the fan ramping up and down. Let's go to devices. And here I'm going to go to onboard devices and switch off the Bluetooth and WLAN. We're not going to use them here, we're just going to use the cabled Ethernet. Now for boot section, let's make sure secure boot is disabled. And here I'm going to uncheck fast boot if it is checked, so we'll make sure to remove it. I am also going to disable legacy boot. And I'm going to put my USB drive up to the first priority so we can boot from it and install Linux. As an OS, I'm going to use Ubuntu. So here it's going to boot from my pen drive, and we're going to go through the Ubuntu installation process. The setup is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to choose English as a language, and on the next screen I'm going to leave everything as default. Now for networking, we're going to edit the interface and we're going to switch it to manual rather than the HCP. Now we're going to insert the details here. The subnet is the whole range of the network, it's the network address. Then the address is the IP address that will be assigned to this particular host. The gateway is the router that you might have on your network, and we're going to insert the name server so it can resolve domain names to IP addresses accordingly. We just have to give it a quick second here for the IP settings to be applied, and once they're done, we can hit done, and then it will automatically check the mirror. Here it confirms if the network settings that we have set up on this particular machine are working, because as we can see here, it managed to connect to the mirror and retrieve the package lists. With that done, we need to change up the hard disk, so we're going to allocate all the storage available on the disk. So we have 120 gigs, so we can allocate 108 gigs to the root folder, and yeah, we can hit done. And over here we just need to insert some details, so name, server address. I'm going to name it 03 in this case, because this is the third server, the other two were already installed, the username and the password. We're not going to do Ubuntu Pro, and we're also going to install OpenSSH, so we check that one and just go through the next screens and hit the defaults. I repeated this process 4 times, so we will have 1 NUC for Rancher and 3 NUCs for the cluster. Let's jump into the Rancher NUC, and here we can just do update and upgrade, so we will have everything prepared for Rancher to be installed. This will take quite a few seconds here. Having the updates done, I'm just going to reboot the NUC to make sure that it loads everything correctly, and we are just now going to go ahead and install the requirements for Docker. In this case, by default, Ubuntu already has them, so we can proceed to the next step. As we can see here, they are already installed, so yeah. We can just go ahead. After this, we're going to go to the Docker website and we're going to install Docker using the convenience script. Over here, I'm not going to save the script, I'm just going to pipe it directly to shell, so it will automatically install without having to deal with the file after to delete it. That keeps the system clean, right? So I'm just going to pipe it to shell and it will start to install Docker for us. Once the installation completes, what we will need to do here is enable Docker, so it enables the service. And we need to start it as well. Make sure to use the right commands and the right wordings, because obviously it will not work otherwise. With this done, now I'm going to add the current user to the Docker group, so we will be able to run the commands without having to go and elevate our privileges to root. And this would keep things a little bit more tidy and secure. As you might know or notice here, the permission is not granted immediately. What we will need to do is exit to remove the current shell and reconnect. Now we will be able to run the Docker container without having to run it as root. As we can see from the terminal output here, we can note that the hello world image was not found locally, so it needed to be retrieved from the Docker Hub repository. This has been retrieved and it was downloaded and saved and also ran as soon as it was downloaded. We can notice that it ran successfully because it outputted to terminal that, well, yeah, hello from Docker. This message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. This means that the image was downloaded and ran properly and it executed correctly. With this requirement satisfied, now we can go ahead and turn off swap. Swap is used instead of memory. So if you have, like, for example, 8 gigs of RAM and you're running something that is using or consuming more memory than it has available, it can use your disk as memory. Obviously, this will slow down the processes by far. In our situation, we have 16 gigs of RAM and I don't plan to run any intense applications, so I'm just going to turn off swap in order to make the system more efficient. In order to make these changes permanent after reboot as well, we need to comment out in a first step the swap line. It's important to run it as root here because I was unable to save it obviously without the correct permissions. With everything prepared, we can now go ahead and run the Rancher container. I will leave the run command down below in the comments, so it will be a little bit easier to follow along. And yeah, we just need to wait a few minutes because this container will take quite some time to load up and to be available for use. With the image pulled up and the container running in the background, I'm just going to use the docker ps-a to see exactly what is running. And here we can see that we have still the hello world container, so I'm just going to remove it using the ID. And now, as you can see here, we only have the Rancher container running. We can view and follow the logs by using the docker logs-f command followed by the container ID, and as we can see here, there are outputs of what the actual Rancher container is doing. As we can note and appreciate, since it's not the most powerful machine that we have here, it's going to take a while. But as soon as it loads, we will be greeted with this particular website, welcome to Rancher. And on the welcome website itself, we will have the command that we can use on our terminal to retrieve the administrator password. I'm just going to run it quickly and then let's copy paste it so we can go ahead and proceed with the setup. With this done, I'm just going to set up a password quickly, and yeah, we can notice here that it needs to be at least 12 characters long. That's great, so I'm just going to update that quickly and we can continue. Okay, with the credentials set up, as we can see here, now we finally have Rancher up and running. So we will be able to see an overview of our clusters here eventually. At the moment we only have one where the actual Rancher setup is running. We can open it up and see here that we have only one node running it, and also we don't have any deployments or any other thing that is interesting here. So let's go ahead and create a new cluster. Right now, so let's go ahead and start the creation of a new Kubernetes cluster. With Rancher, we can observe here that we can administer various different type of Kubernetes cluster that are already there, or maybe we would like to create them from scratch. We can use EC2 instances or clusters in Azure and so on. Here we're going to focus on custom, since this is going to be a local cluster that we're going to install on our Intel NUCs. When creating a new cluster, as we can observe here, we can set the Kubernetes version. There are two main types that we can add here: RKE, Rancher Kubernetes Engine, or the normal K3s. In our situation, I'm just going to go for K3s because that is what it's all about. Now I'm just going to add the cluster name and the cluster description, and I'm going to hit create. This is a very basic setup just to showcase how to create a very simple cluster. In step 1, as we can note here, we have the node roles. Each one has specific things to handle. So for example, etcd is the database that stores all the Kubernetes cluster state, like pods, services, and configuration. The control plane is the brain of the cluster. It manages the Kubernetes API, schedules workloads, and maintains the cluster states, while making decisions where the containers run. On the other hand, again, we have the worker node, which is the machine that runs the actual workloads. It receives instructions from the control plane, pulls the images, and runs the actual pods. Worker nodes handle compute tasks of the cluster, while the control plane manages the decision and overall cluster coordination. For this scenario, I'm just going to leave them all as enabled, and I am also going to go ahead and select the insecure option here to ensure that the communication between the basically nodes and the actual Rancher server is established properly. Since we are using self-signed certificates, in order to avoid any further steps, we can just select it and go ahead with the installation. With this command and copy, I'm just going to bring in the SSH terminal sessions for each of the node that we're going to have, and I'm just going to paste in the commands. This will take quite some time to install and basically show up on Rancher, so yeah, let's be a little bit patient here. In the meantime, we go to machines here. As we can observe, we have 3 of the nodes that are already showing up, but they are not in a ready state yet. After 3.5 minutes, we can observe that in the machines now we have all the 3 nodes or the 3 NUCs that are running, and we can see their IP addresses and so on. So this means that they are successfully added to the cluster. Right, so this is going to be the end of this episode. So yeah, let's end it here. This covers the installation and setup of a particular cluster, and in the next episode I would like to delve into having an application set up on this new cluster and see it fail over from one node to another when there is a particular failure. Thank you for watching, and as always guys, stay curious, keep learning.